Welcome to the Valdez Family Homestead, and thank you so much for joining us here today. If you're new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as those notification bells so you can stay up to date with this useful information, such as I'm bringing you here today to do with chickens and other homesteading needs. But let's go ahead and get into today's video. So today I wanted to bring you useful information on dust baths for chickens. I'm sorry, dust baths. Kind of get a little twisted in words there. Anyways, I had many questions, and possibly you have questions on dust baths. There are plenty of things that you can do out there. There's pre-made dust baths that I'll get into very momentarily, but I wanted to give you my top ingredients on what I'm using and my chickens have seemed to love so far, and might come in handy for you if you have those same questions that I did. First, let's go ahead and take a look at it. I have just a little bitty pit set up for them right now. I do only have 5 chickens, so this will vary for you on the amount of chickens you have. A lot of people like to do it in bins to where they can jump in. They have those metal buckets, bins, whatever you want to call them, where people like to set up their dust baths in there. Or you have other options such as I did here, as digging a pit or building them a wood box. I find it more useful the pit way. They already like to dig themselves into the dirt, and so when it's already at their level, instead of them having to jump into a bucket or, for instance, a box that you made them, I just find it easier for them to, it's already on the ground, it's already ground level, they can get into it and get themselves clean whenever they want to. So let me show you what I have here. And so I've dug a roughly 1.5 foot deep hole here for them, and they'll come in here and get all nice and comfy. If you've ever seen a chicken take a dust bath, it's sometimes can be very scary. It looks like they're twitching out and there's something's wrong with them, but no, they're just taking dust baths. So if you're new to the dust bath and the chickens, don't be worried when they're down on all the way, like in a laying down stance on their feet and just like rolling themselves almost around in this dirt. So this is the setup I have here for them. Let's go ahead and get into what I use on my dust bath. So if you live in an area sort of what I live in, where your dirt isn't very good and you really don't have dirt, you have more of a clay substance, I highly recommend peat moss or some type of clean organic dirt that your chickens can roll around in. If you have more of a clay substance, of course it's going to be harder for you to use your own dirt, so you want this peat moss to help the chickens soften their area up. Let me tell you, it's just not going to work out at all. If you're working with clay, it can be very frustrating. I know a part of West Texas that I used to live in had the perfect dirt. That dirt was easier to till, and you could use that dirt for the instance of chickens. Here, more East Texas where I'm living, I don't have that capability to use the dirt that I have here since it's that clay. So I suggest, if you're dealing more with a clay, I'm sorry, the chickens were just pecking at me here. If you're dealing with more of a clay dirt, then you want to go ahead and pick you up some peat moss. Now you want to look into it. I have this organic peat moss that I got. Some may contain chemicals, usually they're all natural, but you want to look into it and see that it's safe for your chickens before doing that as well. Peat moss can sometimes develop more of a dusty substance and can be harmful to chickens because it can get into their lungs and have respiratory problems. So just look into the peat moss and what's safe to use for your chickens in your area. Okay, my number 2 that I think you should highly use this product for your dust bath is going to be sand. Sand acts as a natural exfoliant to remove any parasites on their layer of their feathers. So when they're rolling around in there, it kind of scrubs at them. Think about it, those exfoliates, you know, they're kind of gritty when you rub them on your face to remove like blackheads and stuff. It's kind of the same concept for chickens. So when they're rolling around in that grittiness of the sand, it's removing parasites and anything else they could have on the top layer of their feathers. Now you don't want to get a fine sand, such as play sand. It is very, very fine. So I suggest you get, they have like a multi-purpose sand out there, or all-purpose sand. Those are the sands that aren't going to be so fine and can develop a lot of dust. As I had mentioned with the peat moss, you just want to be careful with the things you're using, especially these things that can develop lots of dust. Like sand has, you know, very high silica, and that can affect your bird's lungs. So just look into the types of sands out there. You want the thickest type of sand that you can get. You don't want it to be fine at all. I will let you know how I mix all of these things once we get to the end of the video here. These next things that I'm mentioning to you to put in your bird's dust bath is completely up to you. Now, this third one that I want to mention is I highly suggest using it, and plus they're easy to come around and there's plenty of them. So just be aware that a lot of these things will help eliminate if you don't want to go into more depth of the last products that I have on my list. And so herbs is one thing I highly suggest, especially right now in springtime. If you want to grow your own herbs, more likely if you live on a homestead that you're already growing your own herbs, and you probably have these around your homestead already. So there are plenty of herbs out there that you can use in your dust bath. Of course, you want them to be dried out before you use them. And so there's plenty of ways to dry them out, just by picking them or dehydrating them. And so you want them to be fine and crush them. So if you don't have these herbs growing around, or you're not growing these herbs and you don't have immediate access to them, you can purchase them at the store already in dried form. Lavender, a good one that I highly suggest, and a lot of people will plant these around the chicken coop, and it keeps away a lot of those mites and insects that you don't want messing with your chickens, is going to be catnip. And it's safe for the chickens to eat. So what I did is, you can find the seeds for catnip at your local Home Depot, your Lowe's, your feed stores. They will have these seeds that you can plant. So they grow very fast because they're more of like a weed. You know, herbs grow like weeds. So that's one that you can do. Another one that I highly suggest that I put into my dust bath, and this is the one that I use right now, is lavender, and I use spearmint. So the spearmint, not only does it smell great, just like the lavender, it's gonna help keep those mites. They don't like the smell of it, and so it helps with the chickens in the dust bath. So combining all these elements that I'm giving you together is going to give you more of a protection from your chickens getting mites and lice, any other thing that they can transfer amongst each other. So those are some easy ones that you can throw into the dust bath that I highly recommend. So these next ones, it's completely up to you, but I still have these on the top of my list that I use in here, and I highly suggest you use for your chickens, especially if you want to keep those mites away from them. So the first one is sulfur dust. So I've only found one place that carries this, well, two, but I really don't trust the third parties on Walmart. So if you don't know, Walmart has third-party resellers that sell under them, and you can purchase it from. Now I'll have to look, because if it's the same people that are selling it on Amazon and the only people that I believe carry this product, you're good to go. But what I'll do is I'll link down in the description below. I'll link all these products that I'm using, besides like the herbs and stuff, because you can find those anywhere, and the sand, and of course the peat moss, you can find those anywhere. So I won't link those, but I will link these other products that are a little bit harder to find that I mix in my dust bath. And so getting back to sulfur dust, I've only found one place, and it's on Amazon, and it's this organic place. I believe it's a local family-owned business that has this sulfur dust. You want to look into it, but this sulfur dust is safe for chickens. Of course, they can even eat it to a certain extent. It's not going to harm them. It's organic. If you do research on sulfur dust, it is very beneficial to keep mites and lice off of your chickens, and it's said to work very, very well. So even the chickens that aren't dust bathing on regular to keep those lice and dust mites off of them, studies show that just the other chickens that are using the dust bath and rubbing against those chickens, it is still beneficial in keeping those mites and lice off of them. And so just do your research. Like I said, I will have this product that I use in my dust bath for my chickens linked in the description below for you, and I have it here on the video. I showed you a bag of it so you can see what it looks like. So using this sulfur dust has shown to eliminate mites and lice for up to 2 to 4 weeks. So if you keep this in their dust bath, it'll keep those pesky little critters that you don't want on your chickens away. I have seen people on the web that have these chickens, these backyard chickens, and what they'll do is right on the door, the exit where your chickens will be exiting their coop, they hang a bag of this sulfur and have basically like little holes in it. So just like one of those little bitty Ziploc baggies, kind of like the jewelry bags. And the chickens, as they go past it, will rub against that sulfur dust and it'll get on their feathers. And that has been known to keep away the mites and the lice. So that's just another idea for you. Like I said, do your research and you'll be able to find these things online. Okay, this next one is another one you don't have to use, but I highly suggest it. It's called First Saturday Lime. So it's not your typical lime that you're thinking of that can be harmful in certain ways and can be dangerous to handle. So this lime is completely safe around animals. It has it on the bag that it's safe for pets and safe to handle with your bare hands as well. So not only does this lime help eliminate odors, it helps control these pests as well. So I like to mix a certain amount of this into my dust bath as well to eliminate those odors, and just an extra remedy to help keep away these critters that you don't want around your coop or your pen and hanging out on your chickens. And I'll show you guys some footage here so you can see what it looks like. And then I will also have it linked in the description below so you can pick it up. I pick up 5-pound bags at Chewy. That's the only one they sell. I believe at Home Depot and Tractor Supply there is a 20-pound bag, and it's more bang for your buck. But at the time I got it, it was out of stock, so I had to get the 5-pound bags from Chewy. So I'll have that linked in the description below. Do research on that. There are tons of uses on the Homestead for this First Saturday lime. Not only can you use it in your dust bath and around the chicken coop, but it is also good for your garden. So just research it more online and you can see it. I know a ton of homesteaders and gardeners use this, so there's tons of information out there that you can see on Google. Now, mixing all of these together, it will all depend on how big your dust bath, how many chickens you have, so it's kind of irrelevant on how much to use. The dust bath that I have for my chickens is about 2.5 feet wide, and so it's a perfect circle that I kind of dug out for them. And I've kind of just gone by looking at what to put of each item. I highly suggest getting a 5-gallon bucket, or what I've done is I've gotten just those paper bags that you get at your supermarket and just mixed as I go. So what I'll do first is I'll throw in my peat moss, so I'll get that dirt at the bottom, and then I'll go back and I'll mix the Saturday lime. I'll just pour in as much as I think. You don't want to do too much, as I had mentioned, we're not trying to get it dusty in there for the chickens, so we don't want to mix too much of the stuff that can cause too much dust in their coop. And so after I pour the sulfur dust, I will come back and I'll layer a layer of sand on top of it. And you want to put a good amount of sand, but not more than what you have of dirt. You still want the most out of all these products to be your dirt, because it's your base. It's going to be how these chickens dig themselves into these dust baths. After the sand, I'll come back and put some of the First Saturday lime, and just the same with the sulfur. You don't want to put too much, but enough that you know will be potent to be able to keep away these mites from their chicken coops and from their little bodies. After that, I'll get all my dried herbs and I'll just put a good amount of each herb that I'm putting in there. So in my instance, I'm putting lavender, and I'm also putting spearmint leaves. So I'll crush those up really finely. Like I said, make sure they're dry, crush them up really finely and throw them on the top. Once I get all those layers layered up in the amount that I need, I'll take the bag and I'll either mix it with my hands or kind of fold it to where it's not going to come out and shake it up really good. That's why I said it's better to use a 5-gallon bucket, because you can put a lid on it and shake it up really good and get all of those elements mixed together. So once you have all those elements mixed together, you're pretty much done. You've got your very own homemade dust bath, and you can bring it out. Chickens, you'll see how much they love it. If this is their first dust bath you're making them, just give your chickens some time, because they already have their ways. If you've already moved them and transitioned them out to the coop and they're already old enough and you haven't made them a dust bath yet, the chickens of course have their own ways. They've been digging their own dust baths in your backyard, getting clean the way instinct has told them to do it. So give them time. They will be very curious when you come dump out their new dust bath. They'll go around it. Of course, they'll peck at it and kind of just see what it is that you've just put in their habitat. And after a while, they'll go in there and they'll do their own thing. And my chickens love their dust bath now. They're getting in it. They're getting clean. I just think this is a much better way to do this. And with you getting these items in, because they come in big quantities, will last you much longer, because you can, you're mixing these elements on their own. To whereas they sell these little jars that will have dust baths. I'll show you here now on video. You can purchase these dust baths that they sell online, and they sell them in multiple places. But if you look at them, they are very dusty. They're very fine. It's almost like a powder. And as I was stating, chickens can have tons of respiratory problems, and you want to avoid that. And so I just got this just to compare it to what I was going to make them. And I did mix a little bit of it in their dust bath as well. I don't suggest using these products just because how fine they are and how dusty they are. But that is completely preference. That is up to you. I hope my video was useful information to you on how to make your own dust bath, and check out some more useful information out there on how people make their dust bath. We all experience different things. We all have our own ways, and so some ways might be better than others. I know this way has worked for me, and I can't tell you about the mites or the lice yet because I haven't had those issues with my chickens, but I am hoping this will prevent that from happening so my chickens don't have to deal with any mites or lice. And so once again, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out if you're not already subscribed. But until the next one, see you guys later.